Guy turned out to be a scam. Took me for $600,000. I knew nothing about the business, but I took that whole thing on just to show my dad what I could do. Ego got in my way. When you make good decisions, good things happen behind you, which create momentum. If you get into something you don't want to do and you're trying to force it, that's where the ego jumps in and tries to tell you you're better than it. And what got me to where I'm at today was that grit in that, no one's going to tell me it can't be done. I'm not listening to it. I've been told this my whole life. I'm not listening to it. I don't believe it.
Quick thank you to our sponsor, the Gents Place. What is the Gents Place? Imagine a country club meets speakeasy meets barbershop. If you're interested in owning and running a business that you can actually be proud of, one built with confidence, community, and consistency, this is worth a look. With top location performance exceeding $1.4 million in gross sales, they are at the cutting edge of their industry and franchising in 30 plus states across the U.S. If that lights a fire for you, go to tgpfranchising.com, complete the form, and book an intro call to learn more about owning your very own location of the Gents Place. Okay, guys, welcome back to the Untrapped Entrepreneur. I've got a buddy here. He and I have not gotten to know each other over the years. We've known the same people for like 20 years. So I'm excited to talk to Travis Hollman today. Travis is CEO of Hollman Inc., the world's largest manufacturer of custom locker solutions, and founder and CEO of MeSpace, new venture over the last couple of years that we'll dive into. You guys build adaptive, I'm going to get this, or I got to read this, adaptive workstations for neurodiverse professionals. I have no idea what that means, and I'm glad I'm interviewing you because you're going to tell us all about that. After overcoming childhood mobility challenges, dyslexia in particular, he's built an industry-leading company, is now creating workspaces where people can thrive. Before we talk about MeSpace, I know you're eager to talk about that. You've got an incredible business that has been going on for quite some time in sports, in construction, where construction and sports and design and all of that meet. So tell us about Hollman Inc. to start, and then we'll get into MeSpace stuff later.
I mean, Hollman Inc. is thank you. Hollman Inc. is a 50-year-old company, started by my father in 1976, making racquetball courts back in the day. We got into lockers in 85. I took over the company pretty much in about 95. And in about 2001, my dad came back from an overseas, he lived overseas for a while and came back and with a new wife and new kid. And I was quickly forced out of my employment, went on to do other things like the Marshmallow Fun Company, which made marshmallow guns. I did movies with Faye Dunaway. I did a TV show with Mark Burnett called Bully Beatdown, which was on MTV. Started the first relaxation drink in the country called Vacation in a Bottle. Just a bunch of different things. Owned some bars and some kind of was in your business a little bit. Owned a Riviera Spa for about 10 years. And then came back into this business 2011 and bought the business out shortly after that from my father. And I've had it ever since. We make lockers for everything. Every time you go into an Orange Theory to an Equinox to an LA Fitness to Planet Fitness to, from everything from Dallas National to, Whistling Straits to, the Olympic Club to the Masters. I mean, we're all those places, and we do the JP Morgans of the world and the Goldman Sachs, and every Bank of America has our lockers in the country. And then now we do all the colleges and pro sports teams, and which are this exciting spot. And we just are, just keep going, man. Just keep growing, finding new avenues. But with the world how it is, I think lockers are an important piece. They're the only spot in somebody else's business that's that you use your own. Meaning that if you sign up for golf club membership, you get a locker. If you play sports at SMU football, you get a locker. Everything else is shared. So we take it pretty seriously. And with the COVID coming out and everybody staying at home and working from home or whatever, this connection spots have turned out to be a lot more athletics and golf and stuff than the old days. And so business is pretty good. We're people are building a lot of structure where people can get together and cohabitate. And lockers they always need lockers to put their stuff. So we have a good business. We're happy with it, and it's fun, but it's a lot of work, and it's growing, and it's whenever you're in a business that takes a lot of capital to grow, it's keeps you on your toes.
Yeah,
sure.
especially the ups and downs of the general economy. Let's go back in time because I didn't have any idea. I've seen, probably saw you on TV first, and then figured out we had a bunch of common friends connected later on. But when you see people on TV and you get the edits, right? You get what they want to put out there, what they want everybody to see. I had no idea what you went through in your childhood. So talk about that, because I think as an entrepreneur, we go through all kinds of difficulties and hurdles, most of us later in life, but you had some struggles early on. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, I just, I first started off by saying that, people that I don't talk about my past a lot because I like where I ended up. And you kind of got to go through everything to get where you ended up. People that, dwell on their past a lot. In my book is they don't like where they're at now. So I'll tell you my story, but I'm really happy everything happened the way it did in my life. I was born, with a thing called Legg-Perthes disease. It was a disease that was disease where your bones started to deteriorate inside of your body. At a young age, I had a lot of pain. And finally went to the Mayo Clinic. I was lucky enough to go to the Mayo Clinic for about 2 months. Stayed there in Minnesota for a couple of months. And they came up with a cure for it at the time. The cure at the time was to put kind of strap me down to a bed and put a needle into my hip bone. And got through that. Was in a wheelchair for about 4 years. I had this big thing that went around my waist. My leg had to be at a 45-degree angle, or I was on crutches. Back in the day, it was interesting. People in those days, it was very interesting because people didn't, teachers weren't like they are now. Kids thought they'd get what you had if they touched you or if they were around you. So I didn't really have any friends. Even at recess and stuff, I just sat kind of out there and watched everybody else play. And it was kind of a really interesting childhood. At the same time, I had dyslexia really bad, couldn't read at all. I was in all the special classes, ended up going to first and second grade at elementary school. My dad was a builder. My mom and dad got divorced when I was 4. But so my dad kept us kind of moving around in different houses he'd build or different things. And my mom was interior designer, so she was always trying to buy something and fix it up and resell it. And so I went to a lot of different schools. I went to, I can't remember, I think it was like 7 or 8 different schools to get through high school, I believe it is. But first, second grade at one school, and then I went to a private school for 3rd grade. And actually, at the end of the school year, that was the last time I was in the wheelchair. I was getting treated by then, and didn't get invited to any birthday parties, and nothing really good happened that year. And at the end of the year, got pulled in front of the teacher, and I was there, and the teacher and the principal, my mom and dad were there, and they basically said, "This is the dumbest kid we've ever had at school," quote unquote. He's very severely mentally challenged. And not only did he not pass 3rd grade, but he's not invited back to school because we can't handle people with his low intellect. So that was my 3rd grade. 4th grade, I got got out of my wheelchair, started walking around a little bit, started getting some friends, went back to 3rd grade again in public school, and my life kind of went forward. Still couldn't read, still in special classes, still not getting good grades. But being out of the wheelchair, I got my first friend, a guy named Yogi. Weird name, I know, but that was his real name too. Anyway, and that kind of started my whole life. And then I got into high school. People didn't know me as much in high school. Got some more friends, still having a lot of problems with dyslexia, ADHD. And finally, I got into a class in high school, a religion class taught by a football coach of mine. I was played football at that time. And I said, first class, I remember he said, hey, read this Bible, chapter, whatever. And I said, coach, I've got dyslexia, I don't have to read it or something to that effect. I said to him, and his name was Coach Toner. And he said, fine. And come see me after class. After class, he just basically said, I'm not putting up with that shit anymore. I'm going to ask you to read out loud every single class the rest of the year. And I went home and went, oh my God, this is going to be terrible. It wasn't. It was finally someone said, get it out of your head. You could compete. You can be a real person, and quit using it as a crutch. And he just kind of back in the day, there's so many things they do for kids now. Back in the day, it was just kind of they're going to beat you over the head with it until you gave up, and that's kind of what he did to me. By making me read every single day in front of the class. Well, after a while, you get decent at it. I still have dyslexia. I got spell check now, which is the greatest thing ever. Every third word is misspelled. Every single thing I do, it looks like a bunch of red squiggly lines when I write something. But now with the AI of spell check, the first AI, I can do pretty well. But dyslexia, and I've given speeches about dyslexia and ADHD and stuff, is the neurodiverse thing that goes in the MeSpace. But that is a very big gift for anybody out there listening, because those people, the thought process, over 55% of all the people running small businesses have either dyslexia or ADHD,
really?
are neurodiverse. Wow. The most famous people in the world are neurodiverse. The new trillionaire Elon Musk is neurodiverse. Bill Gates is dyslexic. Einstein was dyslexic. Mozart, Steve Jobs was neurodiverse. It goes down the list. So there's a lot of really famous people that are built like me. I think it's a real gift, but it is, it's a little bit of struggle to get through regular school. With AI coming, there are people that have stated that the dyslexics and the neurodiverse are what are going to lead the world. The rest of people are not going to have jobs. I don't know if I believe that exactly, but I think there's a real opportunity with the right work environment, which MeSpace does, and the right training and the belief in yourself, that if you are neurodiverse, if you're on the spectrum for autism, whatever, you've got a real big chance of being an important part of the future of this world. So I'm excited to be where I'm at, and for you guys that aren't, feel sorry for you.
Well, yeah. The thing is, too, just having the opportunity to be presented with something that everyone looks at as bad, being told you're not going to make it because of that, and then pushing through on the other side. You've probably had many of those times in entrepreneurship where you've seen that movie before, but you know how it ends. They think it ends differently, where someone's going to tell you you can't do it. I imagine you probably don't deal well with, Travis, you can't do that.
No, and what's funny is I didn't really have, I had good parents, but I didn't have parents who were like, hey, you can do anything you want. They were just kind of, they're good parents. But, when I got into business, and the way I do business is maybe a little different than some, and some might say I'm not the nicest guy all the time, and I'm very forward, and I know exactly what I want. And I know how I want it done. And when I first started becoming successful, I was shying away from that type of business philosophy. You got to be nicer to people. I'm not saying that I'm mean, but what got me where I'm at is the fight that I had to endure when I grew up. And what got me to where I'm at today was that grit, and that, no one's going to tell me it can't be done. No one's going to, I'm not listening to it. I've been told this my whole life. I'm not listening to it. I don't believe it. So that is what's kind of got me forward. And so when I started becoming successful, then I kind of shied away from that philosophy. He said, oh, I got to be nice, or I got to be, and I've got back to that in the last, later on in life. And it's really been beneficial because I'm not mean about it, but some will say, right now we're at my office, we're in a thing, and everything about me is AI. I don't know anything about AI, but I'm like, AI can do it. Let's do it. Let's use it. Let's use it. And I have people all the time going, oh, you can't do that in AI. I'm like, you want to bet? So now I've got an intern. I've got several interns right now that are these young kids. And I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing. But I don't know if we can do that. I'm like, yeah, we can do it. And I've got them believing. And we're doing stuff in the last couple of weeks that even my people here are like, oh my God, that can get done. I'm like, I told you it could get done. Just, you got to believe it a little bit. But, you got to you got to kind of figure out what made you successful. And then you got to kind of stick to it a little bit. It might not be what made the next guy successful.
Yeah.
You got to stick to your own personal way of doing things sometimes. Don't try to change. Everybody tries to change. And, if you're having success, keep following that path.
There is a dark side to maybe having that mindset, and it's a trap that you had mentioned to me pre-show that I want to talk about. And I'm not sure if it's what causes that, but like when you go through stuff that everyone said you can't do, like, and I don't know if you know this, but I have an 18-year-old son going off to college to play college basketball, the first player in basketball history to play college basketball with multiple open heart surgeries. So he's had 4 open heart surgeries. Crazy story. Like we're gonna make a documentary on this kid. I haven't gone through that, but like you and Pierce have gone through these challenges, and then you do it again, and then you do it again, and there's a sense of ego and pride that builds up. You can do anything, anytime, anywhere. Tell me about the trap of ego in business. You mentioned a couple of examples of departments and hiring people, but just take that anywhere you want to go, because I think there is a dark side to believing that you're Superman.
Yes, there definitely is. I'll give you an example. When I grew up, my first business was building houses. Owned a home building business, did very, very well. Started when I was like 22 and was really successful. And that got me successful by the thing I know best that I think could get anybody successful, just hard work. I mean, that's a job that I was framing, I was roofing, I was doing a lot of the work myself. That was just, you work harder, you make more money. It's a great lesson, especially when you're young. Then I got into this job, took a job with my dad at Hollman, not because of the money. He was paying me absolutely nothing. I took a job at $30,000 a year. And the year before that, I'd made almost $2 million building houses. So it wasn't about the money. I just wanted to come down. Told my dad I was going to retire for a few years. And he said, come down like this, I thought I could spend some time with him. And that didn't turn out exactly how I wanted it to. But then I got down here and I found a job that I really, really liked and understood. And Hollman Inc. turned out to be something where just with manufacturing stuff, I understood it. And like some jobs you get, some jobs you don't. This one, even today, if you ask me a question about manufacturing, how to deal with our customers or whatever, I'll give you an answer within 5 seconds. It's 90% right all the time. I just understand it. After Hollman Inc., I got fired by my dad. He came back and wanted his company back, and it was a really bad deal, hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I decided I was going to show him who was boss, who could really make money and whatever. So I got in the music business. With this guy, I met shooting a music video at the Hard Rock here in Dallas. We used to have a Hard Rock. Guy turned out to be a scam. Took me for $600,000. I knew nothing about the business, but I took that whole thing on just to show my dad what I could do. Ego got in my way. I went out and did a couple other things that were equally stupid based on ego. When you're in a space, I did a movie. Movie turned out good. Didn't make any money on it. But when I was doing the movie, if you would have asked me to hire this person, should the plot go this way, should the plot go that way, I should have just flipped a coin. I would have been more right. I didn't get it. My brain didn't get it. But I wanted to be in the movie business, like the TV show. Same thing with Mark Burnett. That actually turned out fine. We did make money on that. But same thing, without Mark Burnett, it would have been a loss. I just happened to get some connections there and make it. But the same thing. It was an ego that got me in that business. Flip a coin, right or left. I did not know what I was doing. Some things you instinctually know what you're doing, some things you don't. If you know what you're doing and can get in a business where for some reason it kind of clicks in your brain how it works, you don't have to use the ego. You'll just start making good decisions. When you make good decisions, good things happen behind you, which create momentum. If you get in something you don't want to do and you're trying to force it, that's where the ego jumps in and tries to tell you you're better than you are, and that's what causes a lot of financial pain. Everything I've lost money in personally is stuff that I had no business being in. Being honest, everything I've made money in, I got in a business, and it's been several businesses, and I just understand it. Like I know what the customers are thinking. I know where the industry is going, and it just makes sense to me. Like it's kind of like I can see that. I could see the right. I can read that. That's in English. The other stuff's in Chinese.
Yeah,
I can't read the Chinese, but I think I can.
Man, that hits home with me personally too, because I got involved in some major projects during the pandemic, significant amounts of money, and everything didn't turn out the way that I thought it would. I was dealing with subject matter experts, been doing government contracting and all kinds of stuff for years and years. And looking back, they knew that I didn't know what I was doing, and they knew exactly how to thread the needle to give me just enough of what I wanted so that they could get more. And like only after I've been removed from it, I realized, like, because I've been on the other side of the table, people trying to enter my industry where I have subject matter expertise, and I already know. I can probably you meet someone in your industry or wants to be in your industry, in 30 seconds, you're like, this guy's not going to be successful. Like that plan's just not going to work. You just know too much.
That's how I feel in this business, but I didn't feel that all, it's kind of like when you try to get in the wrong thing. And what's funny about your business, I'm sure you have the same experiences because I know you're very successful, but like if you can go look at a location, go, yeah, that location will work. And you just know it by looking at driving down the street. And you're like, yeah, you don't have to go. And now I'm sure you still do. You get all the demographics or whatever, but you don't really need them. You just know, hey, that it's next to this store. This store's down there's an Apple store 4 blocks away. There's, this is going to work for a store. You know that because that's how your brain works. I wouldn't know that, right? But I do know in my industry how it works too. And if you can stay inside of what you kind of know and keep away from the shiny objects sometimes. I tell everybody, my brother just sold a fairly large company, and he said, any advice, he's my younger brother, I said, whatever you do not invest in anything for a year. And he goes, really? And I go, you're going to be hit with the greatest investment ideas and the greatest partnerships and the greatest everything, and you're going to lose all your money.
Yeah.
And he goes, and I go, because, right now you have a lot of money in your pocket, so you think you're real smart. And someone's coming to take that money from you. I mean, my dad's famous saying, a fool and his money will soon be separated.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt in a lot of things. That's when ego gets involved. Ego is that fool that'll help you separate from your money.
Okay, so you've tried these different things out. Some have worked really well. Some haven't, outside of your area of expertise. Then comes MeSpace. This one clearly, right, in your mind and in all of your research and everything, is you feel as in your wheelhouse. It's not out of bounds, right? So tell me about how you started that business, and then why you think it sits inside the core of what you should be working on.
MeSpace is an interesting thing. That's kind of one of those, maybe there's a little ego involved in that too. We made, I was making we made lockers. We came up with, we're talking the University of Alabama, and we came up with the first locker you'd be able to sleep in. And and everything that you needed was all the way around you. We sell a lot to JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs and all these flat office spaces, these open office spaces. And if you're dyslexic, you're neurodiverse, having people walk behind you, be around you, being out in the open. I don't even like to go to restaurants where they just say pick a table. I want to be told where to go sit. Hey, you're going to go sit in this booth, or ask them what booth I can. Tell them where I want to sit, but have someone seat me. I don't like to go in. A lot of us don't like to go in cafeterias and just figure out where we're going to sit after we get our food. That being said, the way that it's done currently is this open office space, and they tell you, and I've been in hundreds of them because we sell lockers to them. They're big things. Oh yeah, go in open office. It's great. Everybody's going to, talk to each other, and there's going to be all this collaboration stuff. There's not. Go in one. It's dead silent.
Everyone's got their headphones on and their computer, right?
They got their headphones on because they don't want to be around the people. They're trying to mask this thing. And so I sat there and I said, well, this is just terrible. And then I started thinking, why not build something for the neurodiverse crowd, the people that are built like me that do not like being in these spaces, that want something where they can cocoon and get their work done. So I started working on it. 2 or 3 years later, it was more of a pet project than anything else. We got these things done. I got with a company called Neurables, which is actually read your brain waves. And we're actually 26% more effective working in MySpace than working in open spaces. I've got in arguments with all sorts of people because what makes our pod thing different than everybody else's is we have this wraparound door, so you can have the door open, partway open, or all the way closed, however you want it. And we've got this ghost glass, so you can turn the glass off, and you can be completely cocooned in here. But it's not noise silent. Everything else in the industry is this noise thing, these little tiny booths. This thing, our MeSpace is meant for these people to work in all day. And by not being noise silent, if you always want to hear noise around you. And I got into one of the most famous architects around said in this space said neurodiverse said, no, you got to have it silent. You got to have it silent. I said, no, it's terrible. I can't think. And I said, well, that's not what research says. I said, research is wrong. This was about 4 or 5 years ago. Well, guess what? All the research says now, silence is bad for you, right? It's bad for the brain. I'm like, okay. I listen to myself on the thing. So we've created something that is astonishing, and then we've been putting it out. What's interesting is this: it doesn't matter if you're neurodiverse or neurotypical, you still get about a 26% uptick in your work inside the space. You become more calm, you're more effective, you're more focused. Everything else happens inside the space. There's all this brain chemistry that goes on, but it's actually your brain waves increase and your cognitive abilities increase 26% higher than they would up in an open space.
What is it? Is it particularly about? Is it how it's built?
It's how it's built. You can control it. It's the noise. The less noise in there is the less distractions. We've got it even RGB lighting. There's certain lighting. Everybody. Bono, the singer of U2, he wears those glasses. He's wearing the rose-colored glasses all the time. He's got light sensitivity. He's neurodiverse. So a lot of neurodiverse people have light sensitivity, have smell issues, have touch issues where we've got things on the bottom of the desk where they could rub things. There's touchable places all over the desks and stuff where they can feel comfortable if they've got sensory issues. But it actually works when you build something for somebody like our whole head goal is how do we get an autistic kid inside this thing and make them incredibly productive? That was our goal. We've satisfied that pretty well. But if I can get an autistic kid inside here productive, neurotypical people just love it. So any color light you want, you've got fan speeds you can control. You can control how much noise. You can control if you want people to see you in or not. You can control with your roll around door, you can control how much you want to be interactive with people or how much space you want to the outside. So by having control of your workplace, it lets your mind relax and focus on what's important, which is your work inside. I can get in there, take, come in, decide not to take my Adderall, and sit in there and work for hours without it.
Is the future, when you look at a co-working space, because those are continuing to expand. One of my buddies just sold a company called Vast Networking. They've rolled up all these co-working spaces. So that's continuing to evolve and grow. Do you see the future of a co-working space in an ideal world for you? Is it, completely change the model and they're all MeSpace pods? Is it a portion that's MeSpace?
No, I think it's probably, we figure it's about a third to half MeSpace models. I mean, here's the deal. You want to get in them and get your work. The idea of work is to get in and get work done, right? So to get in and be as productive as possible at work seems the perfect way to do it. So if I'm at work, the current setup is this: you sit out in open space, nobody talks, and then you get away and you go back in the corner into a
phone booth,
to a phone booth, whatever,
Yeah.
and try to get a little bit of work done or quiet work done. I don't know why they do it that way. And then if you want to collaborate, you go into a conference room. Our deal is you do it opposite. You come into MeSpace, you get your work done, make your phone calls, do everything else. When you want to collaborate, you go sit at the tables out with everybody else, talk, take your laptops out, talk, and collaborate. That's how we see the space. So I think the space, we're trying to turn it upside down right now from what it is. We're having some success. We're doing a bunch of units up at SMU, but we did 3 units there last year at SMU. Last summer when there was nobody there, we were in their area where they've got their little, they're eating their cafeteria and stuff. And I had one downstairs, one upstairs. I go to meeting with SMU. There's not one person in the entire building downstairs except for us in this meeting room. I look over, I said, someone's in that MeSpace. Like, yeah. And so we're laughing. We're there for an hour. Someone's still in there. So I get up and, they're like, did you plant that person here? Because it's the only person. There's not anybody else that even walked through the thing except this MeSpace being used. So I knock on the door and this guy's like, yeah. And I said, hey, who I am. And there's SMU people. And he's like, yeah, man, this is the only place I get anything done. And we're like, there's nobody else out here. He goes, doesn't matter. I just got to be in here. And the girl there goes, well, there's one more upstairs. You think someone's in that one? The next one's upstairs. So we walked up the stairs. There were 2 people sleeping on a couch over in the thing. There was a person outside of my MeSpace waiting to get in, and there was a person inside the MeSpace that had been in there, knocked on the door, and same thing. It's the only place I get stuff done. And the girl outside's like, I'm like, are you waiting for this? She goes, yeah, I'm waiting for this. So, of course, SMU ordered more MeSpaces after that. But once you get into the space, you just love it. And if you're going to get work done, why not get really heavy productive work done instead of taking 2 or 3 hours to do a job? You can get it done in an hour because you're focused.
Yeah.
And those phone booths that they have don't do that. The phone booths, people can see you in and out. You've got this uncomfortable feeling you're in this fishbowl. Ours, you could press the button and you can completely, isolate inside the thing with, the color lighting you want, everything that you want in there. Stand up, sit down desks. The whole thing moves your phone chargers, multiple screens. It's quite a space to work in.
We need to show some, we'll show some videos, some screenshots here, because I remember you posting about it maybe when you first launched on LinkedIn, but I haven't seen it. I can't visually see exactly what you're talking about anymore because it's been over a year. So I want our audience to be able to see that's watching on video. What is the feedback that you're getting? I'm sure there's like a stack rank of what they like most to least, but like what do you get most often? I love this MeSpace because X.
They like it. Most people like it because they can cocoon into it. It doesn't have every single pod that you see has these windows and you're looking at people and they can see you and, you're kind of sitting in this little tiny space up and you're uncomfortable. Here you're comfortable. You're in an office space. Like I said, you close the door, you press the ghost glass. That's what I do. Nothing's getting in there. There's no distraction either. It's like, it's kind of like back in the TV business or whatever, the movie business or the music business. If you go in those rooms, it's all dark in there and they're concentrating on the music. They're concentrating on editing the video. There's nothing to distract them. That's basically the feeling you get inside of a MeSpace where you have absolute focus time. And my biggest goal in life is to get, if I was going to pick any goals, get everybody back to a 4-day work week. And by doing that, you're going to have to create something in the with AI is going to, I think, help do that, but also it's to create a space where people can go work. I mean, it's silly that we're creating all these other things, phones and all these apps and stuff. Why don't you just create a physical space that helps people work better?
Mm-hmm.
That's half the battle is where, it's kind of like a bed. You want the most comfortable bed to sleep in. You're not going to sleep on the rocks, right? Might as well, if you're going to go to sleep, grab a good mattress and, a good pillow.
Well, speaking of that, on the residential side, is there a residential application here?
We've done some, and most of them have been with people that work from home as doctors, and they want to close everything off for HIPAA and stuff. So that's been a deal. So some of those things. It's a passion project. We've given a lot of them away to schools and stuff that have autistic programs and stuff. So we're working on that, and we are actually working on some co-working spaces right now that I through one of the biggest, or about the biggest company I think out there. I think we're working on some pilots with them here soon to try to get into co-working spaces.
Well, it sounds like you've got a good, I just think of it as a cross-sell opportunity coming from the insurance business that I was in. You've got relationships already with the SMUs of the world. Is that one of the reasons why this is different than some of these other, I'd call them tangents that you've been on, but like, why is this a good fit? Is there
I don't know if this is a great fit. It's just something I want to do. It's something I really feel that, only 15% of autistic people are in the workforce. I think there is a great opportunity with AI because they can go to AI right now, an autistic person that might do things in bullet points or might do things a little bit different, put it into AI and it'll take them and make it into a typical type of report that everybody else can understand logically. There is, the cure for cancer. Everybody says the cure for cancer is inside some autistic kid's head right now. How do we get that out? Let's give them a space that they can be in and that they can survive in and thrive in. I've got a buddy of mine that's down in Australia, and he's got this kid he's got about 25 employees. He said this kid does as much as all 25 employees put together in a day. Kid sits in a closet. I said, you got to buy one or get one of my MeSpace. We're talking about right now. He's like, this kid sits in a closet. He doesn't want to be around anybody. And every single day at, I think it's like 3:00, he has to have this cert pizza from the cert pizza place. And if he doesn't have it, he goes crazy. So I said, what do you do? And he goes, we have someone whose total job is to make sure this kid's got this damn pizza every day at this time. But you got to do these things. So it's a matter for autistic people. It's a matter of, having the right management and right people. But give you an example. I mean, JP Morgan told me this themselves, and I think they've written a story about it too. But down in Brazil, they had like 200 programmers trying to work on an algorithm for their security for your credit cards. And they brought an autistic kid in, and he came in and wrote on the back of a napkin within 2 weeks. And that's what they use for their credit cards to this day. They patented it. These kids are brilliant. But if you don't put them in the right space, you don't give them a space to succeed, they're not going to make it. So all MeSpace is doing is giving that space. So I don't know if it fits in. I've got Absolute Recomp, which is a local gym. They're putting them in. I've got a bunch of gyms and stuff that are putting them in. They're going into some of we sell out to a lot of country clubs. They're putting some of them in for people to work during the day. A lot of the colleges are putting them in right now. So we're kind of going down a different avenue than most people are, selling to just our current our current employees. We just started advertising it like 2 weeks ago for the first time ever. So we're going to see where it goes. If it doesn't go, it doesn't go. But I would like it to, because I really feel passionate that the future has to do with people on the neurodiverse spectrum. And if I can help them out, give them a spot to work, and maybe they can change the world. I mean, the homeless people, almost 75% of the homeless are neurodiverse. Maybe we can get a couple of them in the workforce, and we cut the homeless rate down. I mean, there's so many good things can happen by just getting this out in the marketplace that I think it's worth the try.
Yeah, absolutely. You're so right about the homeless. Lauren and I have been, for the last 8 years, we go down every month and run this Haircuts for Homeless shelter program at Austin Street Center, which they're fantastic for anybody that's listening from Dallas. I've had the most incredibly competent and intellectual conversations. There's doctors, professors in the homeless populations, but yeah, you're right. Everyone's got some quirk of some kind that has ejected them out of traditional society. So I think the combination of a physical space plus AI might unlock all kinds of things.
I mean, that's what we're hoping. I build lockers. The only thing I could think of helping these people is a physical space. So we've, I think, built something as good as we can at this point in time. I mean, we're improving all the time, but for the physical space, I can tell you this: if you get a chance to go in one these aren't the pods you're looking at. These are MeSpaces. They're totally different, but they're meant to work in all day. They're not meant for 10 minutes or 20 minutes. They're meant to sit down and get work done. And if you ever worked in one, I think you'd be amazed at the possibilities. And if I can get, like I said, we can get that one kid in there that we can get it's kind of like the starfish thing, right? If I get one autistic kid or whatever kid, or one kid that, in the old days, you know what they did with people with autism or people with dyslexia or whatever, we were the farmhands. We just got kicked out of. You weren't a business person. You can't read. You go this way. Now there's so much more opportunity. You don't even need to read really anymore. I mean, it's crazy. That sounds. I'm not going to tell my kids that.
You don't even need to code as a coder anymore.
No, you don't need to. You just have to have a brain to know what you want done.
Yeah.
And so there's so much opportunity. The world is going to be, our future is so bright in the world. I know everybody gets worried about AI, but I wouldn't worry about it. There's going to be so many things to do, and it's just going to open up so many. I mean, everybody thought when the computer came out, end of everybody, no one's going to have a job anymore. Well, look, how many more jobs got created? I mean, how many more things? So we got a great future ahead of us. The world does, and I think with AI coming and with the neurodiverse getting a little bit more involved, I think it's going to be a fun ride.
Well, I'm excited for you and in this new venture, and of course, you're doing great things at Hollman, world's largest. And I'm embarrassed, man. We put lockers in every one of the Gents Place locations, and I've never called you. And so I'm gonna call myself out on this, and we need to meet over in our South Lake location next to Capitol Grill, and you can see our current lockers, and just be easy on me, man. You're gonna think of like a million things you could do better, but.
That's the last time I think I saw you when that during the grand opening. I was.
That's
there.
right. Emmett was there.
Yeah, you had a poker party, I think it was, right?
Yeah, we're raising some money for one of our mutual friends.
Yeah.
Hey, any parting advice here? You've done a lot in business and entrepreneurship. Anything that you want to leave for these aspiring or current entrepreneurs that we haven't already talked about?
I mean, there's going to be something that you find that you just realize comes easier than everything else. Lean into that. Don't try to, if you're, it's almost like athletics. If you're 5'6", maybe you're not going to be a NBA basketball player. But if you're 5'6" and you're a really good athlete, maybe you're a great gymnast. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Lean into what makes sense. A lot of people try to do what I did, get in the music business or whatever. I don't know anything about music. I can't even tell you if the guy's singing the right tune or not. I mean, I'm so dyslexic, I can't even tell you the words that they're singing are correct. So don't do something that's stupid like that, like I've done. Figure out what you're good at, what naturally comes to you, and then lean into it. I think you'll be successful.
Yeah, you made me visualize like Travis square peg round hole. Like you can change the hole, but you can't change the peg.
That's exactly what you got. Yes. So I would. Yeah. Yes.
I love it, man. Well, hey, I'm glad we got to get to know each other a little bit better. It's been way too long. We bumped in and said hello many times, but nice to get to know you better and know about some of the struggles and how you got here. successful entrepreneur I talk to on this show has a number of hurdles, a number of struggles, and some of them put it out into the open and talk about it all the time, and some don't. And so I appreciate you sharing some things you don't normally share.
Well, thank you, man. Have a great day.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.